Hello everyone and welcome back to your weekly gaming podcast, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together and round up all the week's video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and also available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. You join me alongside my fellow co-host Richie. Welcome back.
Hello everyone.
For another fantastic show this week as we break down everything revealed, announced, and the winners of this year's Game Awards, hosted by Jeff Keighley. We're also going to break down the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer, our thoughts and first impressions and first looks, and a review roundup of Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, because that game did come out this week, and it isn't half bad apparently. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of our amazing content we do right here on the channel, such as this very show, our first looks, our live streams, and much, much more. This past week, we dove into Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Richie, you went back once more.
Twice more. I went back
twice more. 3.5
I did. So episode 3 is just a standard story episode where first episode has adult Link that we've done. And then 3.5 I went back to become child Link and just did some more cleanup stuff, that one's available for members only at the moment.
Members only clean up. That's good to know. We also watched along with the Game Awards, so if you are keen on watching our reactions to the entirety of the show, we stayed up until, what time was it? I think I ended up getting to sleep about
4 in the morning.
I think it was 5 a.m. when I actually got to sleep though.
It's when you're getting into bed and you're starting to worry, like, is it getting light outside?
I don't think we have that problem in December, but yeah, it certainly weighs on your mind a little bit. But we did it. We did it for our 5th annual watch along. It was a terrific show, and as I said, we're going to get into all that and break that down. We also do a bunch of live streams here on the channel. We'll have one lined up this week, probably something to do with some Game Awards news, so we'll get into that as we go along. But we do have a merchandise store, so if you're still looking for those last-minute gifts for yourself or your family members, head over to the link in the YouTube video description. We have a full merch range covering cups, mugs, hats, everything else you can imagine. Bandanas for dogs, I believe, are even one of the things in there.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually live on the merch store, but if you're out there and you would like a bandana for your little doggo, let me know and we'll whack a GamerGuildTV logo on and then get it up for you as well. Richie, we have a busy show, but before we get into it, I always do ask, what have you been playing this past week, besides Zelda, if anything?
I did play a bit of Majora's Mask, but I've also been mainly playing Final Fantasy XVI.
How many hours in are we now?
I haven't got a clue.
Roughly?
I honestly couldn't tell you because it's been quite sporadic, my playing of it. I'm making decent. I think I'm probably good 2/3 way through the story.
Okay, putting a dent in it. That's good. Yeah. That's good. And of course, we had some news this week that game is going to be expanding, and we'll get into that with all the details.
It has already expanded, actually.
It has already expanded. We'll tell you all that. We'll get into the details with the Game Award news. We had some reveals in there and such. In terms of myself, I am on the cusp of finishing Alan Wake 2. I am holding out because I am on the Platinum Trophy run. I have just the story to finish and a collectible of watching 6 TV commercials within the game. However, it's glitched. So I've listened to said TV commercials and it's not tracking in the game stats and it's not tracking in the trophy percentage stats. So I've looked it up online. And it does say that there's a known error with it. The problem I have is the story has a do not return point. And if I go beyond the do not return point, as you can imagine, I'm not able to backtrack and do anything. So I'm kind of in this awkward moment where I can't finish the story because if I go past it, I'll need to play through the whole game again just to do those commercials.
Could you not just drop a fresh save?
I'd have to start, I'm talking 25 hours back, potentially, to get the first commercial.
Yeah, but couldn't you just drop a fresh duplicate save
now? Oh, you
mean
and then finish
the story, and then when it's fixed, just go back
I guess,
to the other one?
Yeah, I could do that. That's a logical way of thinking of it. To be fair, off the back of the Game Awards and Alan Wake's success, they did post, I'm just trying to find it, they did post straight after or on the day of, a New Game Plus update is going to release on Monday, aka tomorrow at the time of recording. It's going to come with a new ending, a New Game Plus mode which features something called the Final Draft. You retain all your weapons, unlocks your charms, your upgrades. There's a new Nightmare difficulty being added. There's been new manuscript pages added and video content and bug fixes and glitches, the usual rigmarole. So I'm hoping, and looking at the comments on social media, a lot of other trophy hunters are waiting for that to be fixed, and then it's literally that and then trophy. But Richie, you are a smart man, and you're right. I should just make you only get 3 save slots, which is that's the weird thing with modern games, right? Back in the day, you had your memory card, and you could just make as many as your memory card would hold, and yet modern games you seem to be restricted to 3.
Yeah, I've never understood it. If it's like a local
Infinite.
save, why do you care? And plus, the online save is held by PlayStation Plus, which I'm paying for.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's weird.
Let
right?
me make as many saves as I want.
So yeah, so I've got 3.
Could be worse. Could be Pokemon.
1.
Yeah, you get 1.
There's 1. Is that a Nintendo thing by now?
Nope. I think it might be. I think some of the new Zelda games you only get 1. The old games you get multiple save files. But yeah.
Oh well. In terms of Alan Wake, though, absolutely adore this game. So I don't know. I'm sure it came across on the podcast and the shows we've done, but fully in on it. Love this franchise. Remedy are absolute masters at their craft, and they had awards to showcase that. So I'll hopefully have the platinum by next week. I might do a look at Nightmare Mode, but we do have a lot more stuff we could play this week. Do let us know in the comments below, as always, what you've been playing this last week. We'd love to hear from you all. And if you do like game chats like that, jump into our Discord as well. The link is in the YouTube video description. Join up with fellow gamers, talk about games, the Game Awards, what you're playing, what we're playing, what's coming on the horizon, all that and much, much more. But Richie, let's get into the thick of the show. If you could introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And as always, every week our news is brought to us by you, lovely members of the channel, the GamerGuild heroes. For as little as 99p. Don't know why I went really slow there. I kind of lost my train of thought. From as little as 99p, you can get this very show early, stickers and badges next to your name in the live chat, and much, much more, like Richie's 3.5 episodes of Zelda and a couple of more unique videos that are still up on the channel there. But yes, members, thank you very much. You're all appreciated. You're all loved, especially at this time of year. We know everyone's got expenditure going out all over the place elsewhere, so the fact that you can donate as little as 99p to help this channel keep on keeping on, we do appreciate you all. Richie, news. Bit of a quiet week this week. Not much going on. No announcements, no awards, no trailers 13 years in the making dropping that break all sorts of records. How crazy is it? Let's kick things off, though. Yeah. Story number 1 of the week. The Game Awards have happened. They've been and gone. Some criticism, some great things, some announcements. But what we'll do, I think we'll start off with the actual reveals. We'll get into the game news. We'll recap on the winners. And we'll kind of talk about our thoughts of the overall show back and forth. So, starting things off, Richie. Story number 1. Marvel's Blade from Arkane Lyon and Bethesda Publishing Studio, a.k.a. owned by Xbox, revealed a trailer for Blade. The Daywalker himself from Marvel, the studio that brought you Dishonored and Deathloop recently, not to be confused with the Arkane that brought you Redfall, the other vampire game that we don't talk about
This is
anymore.
the good Arkane.
This is the good Arkane. So, I mean, you know what? The other Arkane were not bad until Redfall and everyone seemingly left the business. But to keep things positive, we actually, funny enough, when we watched the trailer and the art style of it almost, and the fact that he was referencing vampires and then he had vampire teeth, we both thought it was like Redfall DLC or Redfall expansion, thinking it's been 6 months, it's probably about the right time to jump in there and fix it or polish it a bit more.
Yeah, there was a point during the Game Awards we were watching it and going, are they doing Blade DLC for Redfall?
Yeah, it didn't even cross our mind that it might be like a standalone licensed game. But yeah, we saw a trailer, there's a barber giving him a shave, everything pops off outside, lights turn red, and then, seemingly enough, he puts his glasses on, he picks up his sword. Is it a katana that Blade has?
I don't know. I think it's quite...
It's got like
it's clearly styled off a katana, but not quite. It's not like a very traditional, because it's too straight, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm no doubt made of silver, I'm guessing, to kill vampires. Yeah. Blade's one of those interesting characters where I thoroughly enjoyed the Wesley Snipes movies back in the day. Shout out to Triple H and Ryan Reynolds for being in the third movie. But then he kind of went away, and we know he's back in the MCU, or he's supposed to come back as Mahershala Ali, but he's one of those where he's such a cool concept, and he kind of fits the trope of a video game perfectly. Now, he's going with Arkane Lyon. Deathloop, of course, Game of the Year award-winning title from last year, the year before, if I recall. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think there's going to be a recurring theme where he's a reveal trailer. It's basically, this trailer is, we're working on a Blade game, and shows you nothing about the game. So we can only really go by their past works. Or things like Dishonored, really well praised for its kind of traversal.
Didn't sell very well, but
yeah, but still, it's a bit of a cult hit. Like for things like its traversal and the way you explore the world and interact with that world. Deathloop is a kind of different one where they went more first-person shootery with Deathloop. But I think Blade can work in both ways, so I think this could be a very nice fit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an intriguing one. A couple of the details I guess we want to get into is they have confirmed since that it's third person.
All right.
So
I was just assuming first.
Yeah, I did as well. But yeah, just to read from Bethesda's post, we're excited to announce Marvel's Blade is in development from Arkane Lyon, the award-winning studio behind Dishonored and Deathloop. In collaboration with Marvel Games, Marvel's Blade is a mature, single-player, third-person game set in the heart of Paris. So there we go. We've got our setting. Good. We've got our thing. Obviously, in development, my guess is quite early doors in development. I don't think we're seeing this anytime soon. But I'm excited. It does build towards this kind of future of Marvel licensing out their properties to different studios. We obviously got Midnight Suns, which was something a bit different. We've got Spider-Man over at Insomniac. We've got Marvel Snap was shipped out to the people who made the what's the popular cards game? Is it Hearthstone? Or the League of something? The card game. Either way, it's one of them. They were given Marvel Snap. So Marvel are basically choosing and picking.
It's finding the right fit for the right IP. I think. Well, I'm with the third person stuff. This does put a spanner in the works of how I was thinking about the game, because I was trying to imagine Dishonored stroke Deathloop, but with a Blade skin over it, and kind of get a grasp of what the game could be. It going third person feels very different.
Yep, that's my preference. That ticks all the right boxes for me.
Yeah. But one thing we can say about Arkane and Lyon is they are pretty good at having these games where you kind of approach a situation in whatever way you want to. They're quite open with that kind of stuff. So it's not like, here's the right path. It's like, no, you've got the tools in your arsenal. Here's a situation, figure it out.
Yeah, they could almost do it like a Hitman style. Like, you get your location, I guess. It's full of vampires, like a nightclub or something. Like, you tend to see they're all at the blood banks having fun at nighttime. And you can choose to sneak in, blend in with them, because he is a vampire or half vampire, so you can blend in with them. So you've got that Hitman option. You can go all out action and just hack and slash with his silver bullet and his katana. Or
they've done stealth as well before. Like stealth
exactly, it's part of.
I could see them doing this really, really well.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect match. We will need to get into knowing very little about the story detail and stuff. I'm thrilled for Blade getting his game. Obviously, an Xbox-owned studio. One of the details I do want to get into, I don't want to make a big deal of it, but it was never declared as an exclusive. Even on Microsoft posts and Bethesda's posts, and multiple journalists have reached out for comment, they won't clarify it's an Xbox exclusive, which is odd, because you'd like to think they'd be absolutely singing this from the rooftops.
It's not something we've covered recently, but Microsoft are still ongoing with conversations with FTC. So it might just be keeping the powder dry kind of thing. It might be they don't want to commit publicly either way. So they could just develop this as an Xbox exclusive, but as long as they don't declare it's exclusive, it means that there's a potential for a deal on the table with anyone who wants to talk.
Yeah.
So they're not kind of getting in their own way, but it could be just a bit of that kind of sleight of hand thing.
Yeah,
we just don't want to commit.
Yeah, there's certainly interesting caveats to it, because you've got, as you said there, you've got all the FTC stuff going on. You've also got the reality of it's Marvel. So Marvel could have had a say in this. They could have looked at the Spider-Man numbers. They could have looked at how Midnight Suns has done and a couple of other properties, Avengers, for example, from Square Enix, and thought, if we're going to license this out, do we put into the contract that it needs to be multi-platform? If you want this license, if you pitch this game to us, you can have it, but with the caveat of this. And then does this go back to Microsoft's grand picture of they want to be on all platforms? We know they make money through Minecraft being on all platforms. We know they're making money now on other titles. Is this just a world where Microsoft are looking to just be that ecosystem, and by new titles coming out and being on other things, are they that fussed? Like you're a big advocate of saying there won't be a box eventually. Does this lead into that business model long term?
It could do, but I think we're probably at this point reading too much into it with other things going on. we don't know whether this was Disney that pitched this to Xbox, or Xbox pitched this to Disney. That could change the conversation a lot.
I think because
Arkane.
Yeah, there was one of the. It was the guy who was on stage with the game director. He'd said afterwards when they, in one of like the side interviews, he'd said when they came to him with the pitch, they just blew him out the water with it. So it sounds like they went to Disney in a regard. But we don't know how these things happen, how they come about, you said. As a quick side question, will this be connected to Wolverine or Spider-Man?
No.
Totally.
I think no, because with Spider-Man definitely being exclusive, Wolverine almost certainly going to be exclusive. Having any strong connections, even if it is cross-platform, I think would be kind of weird. And I think you might run into the issue that the MCU is almost facing a bit, where it's getting a bit too big for its own comfort.
Britches. Yeah,
and then you're having to watch too much stuff what's going on. I think this could be a standalone Blade game and just leave it be at that.
Is Blade, again, I'm not sure if you know, is Blade New York? Or is he somewhere else? In my mind, I feel like all heroes focusing on New York, but thinking of the movies, I can't actually recall.
I mean, this one's Paris.
Just a grungy city. Yeah, this one.
There again, the choice of Paris could be one of them where they don't want to actually commit to whether this is going to be part of the connected universe or not. Yeah. So by picking a completely different city, one they're familiar with, then they could just go, well, if we decide to make this connected, we can, because what's happening in this game is not linked to anything that's happening in the other game.
Yeah. I think Paris is a good shout as well because of the general architecture of the cities. They're very like gothic and stylized, and I think if you're looking for that horror element, that underlining like kind of trope, it could bode very, very well at nighttime.
And it's going to lead itself to some awesome set pieces when you think of some of like the landmarks in there. Like obviously there's the Eiffel Tower and Arc de Triomphe, but you've got things like Notre Dame and stuff. Like I could absolutely see like a battle scene happening underneath in the crypts underneath Notre Dame Cathedral.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's got a rich history of a lot of things, and I think vampires can be woven into that history very, very well. But yeah, so that was for me the biggest announcement from the whole showcase. Brand new game, didn't know about it. Fantastic pairing for a studio. It's almost in a similar way when we spoke about IO Interactive getting the James Bond franchise license. It just seems like the perfect pairing that ticks all the right boxes in that genre to hopefully produce something fantastic. But we yet to see. It's a long, long way off, probably. My guess is 2 to 3 years, if that. Might be a little bit early for announcement. I hope we're not just constantly chasing this, going, when do we hear about Blade? When do we hear about Blade? Kind of like the MCU. We got him teased at the end of the Eternals. And apparently nothing's happening with that so far. So here we go.
Yeah.
Moving on though, game number 2 again, we've tiered these. We didn't want to go through it like a list because there was a lot to talk about, and I think our audience, knowing our audience the way we are, knowing us the way we are, and our themes, we didn't want to get bogged down in the show just talking about like random indie games. As much as we'd love to, we want to focus on like the big.
You can see our reaction to everything.
Yeah.
On the live stream.
Yeah. There's actually a couple of things within the live stream that totally went over my head, and we'll get into them. I think, I don't know whether it's a combination of tiredness or we were talking over the devs, unfortunately, trying to break down what they were doing. But we'll get into it. Second game announced was OD, aka Overdose, by Hideo Kojima. He got to come out on stage. He got to showcase a little flashback of his game, in collaboration with Jordan Peele, famed horror director as well, which kind of surprised a lot of people in the audience. A couple of pieces on this I wanted to really, really dig into, and it kind of bugged me in the overall show in hindsight, is we know Jeff absolutely loves Kojima. I think it's really unfair that he gets 5 to 10 minutes stage time with a translator every single year, and yet some of the devs who won awards got literally played off with the orchestra after like 30 seconds of their acceptance speech. Like, they're trying to say and congratulate all of the devs for all the hard work and putting out a game and getting the accolades.
It's an award show at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's the biggest criticism I think people keep having with the Game Awards year on years. We like the trailers, we like the kind of behind the scenes-y stuff, but we do expect this to be an award show.
Yeah. Like, we in the show live always critique how quick they whiz through some of them, but there was just some really odd choices this year with like the upcoming what was the indie game, the new indie game, breakout indie game? I can't remember what the official category was for it.
Yeah.
I think Cocoon won best new indie game or something. But then
best debut indie game.
Best debut indie game. That was probably it. Yeah. But then the winner of the indie game of the year, Sea of Stars, got nothing. He was just shuffled in with the quick five hitters, and it's like, hang on a minute. Sea of Stars was the winner of the indie game of the year, and yet the debut indie game got a chance to stand on stage and talk for a few seconds. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like there's an imbalance there of who's getting the screen time.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's like, if you're going to keep the speeches short and very succinct, that's fine. But I think everyone deserves, if you're giving them awards, deserve the time at the moment.
Yeah. Except for the esports.
Well, even the esports, if you're going to have the categories, then they deserve it.
And it almost
You're about to say something, sorry?
I was going to say it almost comes down to like what's the point in the pre-show when they get rid like you're wasting half an hour in a pre-show and that could just be speech time.
You could put a lot of the smaller reveals in the pre-show.
It was
to free up time in the main show.
Yeah,
like.
It was an odd imbalance, I think, overall. And Jeff's came out on Twitter and actively said like he's took on a lot of feedback, which he does every year. But I think this year it very much leaned. I think it contrasted a lot because of I was going to say Kratos then. Christopher Judge's speech last year when he made a joke about it this year about going for 8 minutes. And then I think he's totally pivoted and gone the complete extreme, the other side of the spectrum this year. And it didn't seem fair on some of them. Like when they're getting up, like Larry in Game of the Year, getting up and he got very minimal time.
It was about 20 seconds in before the music started. And it's like Game of the Year. It's like these people have been working hard on this game for a long time. But a lot of passion, blood, sweat and tears into it. And this is their moment to kind of go, we made the best game this year. Mm-hmm. And you almost feel getting them off stage.
They're getting played off so quick that orchestra kicked in. Whereas on the flip side, all the celebrities, Matthew McConaughey, Anthony Mackie, Simu Lee, they must have collectively got about 20 minutes of pointless, like pointing at the audience, making jokes. All right, like great. But the people who made the damn games got 30 seconds to 60 tops. So yeah, there's a bit of an imbalance. But pulling it fully back around to Kojima and his 10-minute sequence, revealed as Xbox exclusive. It, as I said, in association with Jordan Peele. Overdose is the name of the game, or shortened to OD because he seems to be into his abbreviations at the moment. DS2, OD. We don't know much of it, but this is one I said in hindsight at the time. I thought it was a live action trailer of these people's faces, but actually it's rendered in engine. And in hindsight, I was like, oh shit, they look so photoreal. I still don't know anything about the game.
Yeah, this is my biggest criticism of it. It looks amazing, but it's a tech demo. You've rendered this stuff. Is this rendered on the console you're going to be playing on? Is this running on the Series S? Mm-hmm. Probably not.
I mean, it'll have to. You think?
Like, I want to see the game. Like,
what is
I'd say there's even more substance to the Marvel's Blade trailer than this. This is just some heads. They look amazing, but that's all it is.
Floating heads talking in the wind.
And yeah, okay, you got Jordan Peele attached to it. Great. Still show me the game.
Yeah. We know it's something to do with doors because Jordan Peele and Kojima stepped out from behind a lit door, almost like Zool-esque from Ghostbusters. But
I think he's trying to be too artistic.
Well, it's the door from PT, apparently, is the kind of reading between the lines, which we know PT, Kojima's game that got a tech demo on PlayStation 3, I think it was, 4, back in the day, and then got pulled when he fell out with Konami. But yeah, we don't really know it. But at the end,
he had the same thing with the marketing for Death Stranding. By the time that game came out, I was completely bent out on the marketing because I still didn't understand what the game was.
Yeah, so something to do with doors for all the players and all the screamers. But we should say Xbox exclusive. They did. This is why the Blade one was so odd because this one came out and just said Xbox Production Studios. This did it.
Yeah, but this is not. We've already talked about the potential Disney aspect of it, and where this is Kojima. This is effectively an indie studio partnering up.
True. So it does seem though that Kojima Productions is now a 2-game studio. We know Death Stranding 2 is on the horizon. Now we've got Overdose, and this again we should shout out for our audience out there. Overdose (OD) is the cloud-led game that Kojima originally pitched to Google and Stadia, and they turned it down. I mean,
not fully confirmed,
pretty much,
but. It lines up, yeah.
It lines up. So we don't know much about it. As I said, I'm sure he's going to tease it with 8-minute long trailers for the next several years. He's going to be at the Game Awards because he's Jeff's best mate. But moving on to the third game announcement we got Monster Hunter Wilds, which not a numbered sequel, but seemingly is the follow-up to Monster Hunter World, the actually Capcom's most successful game ever in terms
They
of
don't
sales.
number sequels anymore, though, really, do they?
They don't, no. It seems to be a trend for them, which, you know what, I don't mind. I think Wilds is like a very apt name, switching over from Worlds to Wilds. So far, the details we know is it's the follow-up. Unlike Monster Hunter World, where the kind of open world segments were segmented a little bit, you know, kind of like how the Tomb Raider games do, Final Fantasy does it, where there are vast areas, but they are still open segmented. Zone. Open zone.
I think Sonic did it.
Green Hill Open Zone.
Yeah.
In terms of Monster Hunter Wilds, though, this is got a date 2025, so much like some other news later this week, it's pushing everything out of next year into the year after, so kind of disappointing from a few fans out there. Where do you sit on Monster Hunter? Because it's a franchise I've never ever got into, but I know people absolutely love it.
Yeah, I've never really played one, but it's that kind of continuous existence kind of game that I just don't really get into nowadays. Like, is it games? Arguably, games as a service. Not sure if that's the best fit. You could argue it's a bit of MMO, but I'm not sure if that's the best fit. But it's one of these kind of perpetual, what I like to think of as hobby games, where the game itself becomes the hobby rather than gaming in general. So that's why I've kind of usually staying away from them. They look decent, but I've never seen enough to like really draw me in terms of like narratively, because we're both very much narrative gamers, where I think these are very much more very focused on the gameplay.
Yeah, just for I know it's got lots of skill trees and mechanics and upgrading and crafting and stuff, but Monster Hunter Wild, it sounds great. Go hunt more monsters out there in the wild. I think what maybe delayed this one a little bit was Rise did so well on the Switch. I think a lot of the devs maybe spent more time on that kind of spin-off title that was exclusive for Nintendo for a little while. It did eventually come to PS5 and Xbox, right?
Well, Monster Hunter has its roots in handheld gaming. So I think was the first like console,
big
home console one,
if memory serves. Yeah, that sounds right. But so Monster Hunter Wilds is there coming.
Well, you got your PlayStation Portal now, so it is now back to being handheld.
It is, yeah. It can be anything. Anything can happen with the Portal. Moving on, we got specifically for us kind of the biggest. I want to say like it got the biggest hype reveal. But then probably the biggest drop-off, which was God of War Ragnarok. We saw Kratos return. The crowd went wild to see him in there, and the beats of the theme tune kicked in. We both did, thinking we're getting that expandalone DLC story, whatever it looks like, single-player separate game. It ended up actually being God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, which is some DLC for God of War Ragnarok, and it turns into a rogue-like style game where seemingly as Kratos you're going to go through multiple levels of enemies, fight them off, and if you die you kind of go again. I'm guessing you lose some of your stats or some of your equipment and your inventory, and you go again and see how far through the roguelike elements you can get. It is free DLC, we should point out, and it does arrive this week on the 12th of December. It's actually, at the time of listening, it's probably tomorrow or the day after you're going to get this. Free to download, free to play if you're already on Ragnarok. Richie, I think this is the biggest drop-off for us because we had that kind of pop of hype, and then it was like,
here we go.
I'm not really into roguelikes.
Yeah.
Think you'll be checking it out this week?
Probably not. Just because I've got Final Fantasy, which I'm progressing on, I'm enjoying, so to just jump into a game I haven't played in over a year purely for a combat simulator is... I've just... No, it's not. It's not for me. I do intend to play it at some point. I've even dug out my God of War disc. It's here, I can install it.
You reached over to physically show the video viewers that you have the physical disc copy.
Yeah, so I do intend to install it at some point, but it's not something I'm desperate to play. Unfortunately. I went from going, oh, here we go, to...
Yeah, I think, you know what, part of me still thinks we might get a separate expandalone story, because there's enough to be told left there. I think this might be a stopgap to tie them over, because I think over a year after, it seems a bit weird releasing it so late in the day.
It's the way they kind of teased it initially. It's like, it's an epilogue to the story. It's like, we're see like how Kratos is doing. It's like, oh, here we go. We're going to get like a short like story of like what's what he's been up to since the end of Ragnarok, and then say, "Oh no, it's just you're just going to go to an island and fight some beasties."
Yeah, especially because they've said they've rounded out the Norse kind of duology. Small spoilers for Ragnarok, I guess. 5, 4, 3, 2. Well, it's been a year, but still.
Yeah,
We're yet to wield Mjolnir in it, and I feel like that's something that really needs to happen in this game.
that could be in here. That could be one of the things because it's a roguelike. Because it's a roguelike, maybe you start off with just your fists or something, and you pick up the Blades of Chaos, or you pick up the axe, or you pick up Mjolnir throughout as you play through.
Yeah. I do feel like there's a really good story beat into how he comes to wield it, though. And I feel like that could be such a rich narrative experience. I want them to utilise that. Part of me also thinks because they've used the word Valhalla, which is synonymous with obviously Norse mythology and many of the titles, Assassin's Creed, because they've used it as like a subtitle, it kind of worries me that we're not going to get an expandalone story because Valhalla would be your default name you would use for any kind of expansion, right?
For me, I always felt with either DLC, story DLC, or expandalone, I would have went with Atreus rather than Kratos as your main character for that experience, because I think the Norse section was always meant to be just 2 games, so it feels like the majority of Kratos' story in the Norse realms is done, where Atreus feels like it's just starting. So by doing it, if you doing an expansion where you're going to focus on Atreus, it could be a perfect test bed to kind of make a full-fledged Atreus game, and then Kratos goes off into a different realm. We haven't done Egypt with him.
We haven't. Again, there's so much more to explore. I'd like them to go back with this.
Or go back to Greece.
And not, I'd lap it all up. And you could
remake the Greek games.
The pop from the crowd tells you all you need to know about the hunger for this franchise still.
Yeah.
And
the quality is there. And this will be, if you like roguelikes, this would be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sure you're flipping out back over. If you enjoyed like Returnal...
Yeah, I think this is a game that I think you get a lot of joy out of. If you got half an hour, you just pick up your PlayStation Portal, just stick a half an hour and have one run. I think you could enjoy that.
But I do hate dying and having to start from scratch again. That's the bit that is an older gamer who has limited time. I don't want to feel like my half an hour is just wasted because I'm dead.
Yeah, that's the thing. It would be you're not playing with the view of progression. You're just playing for the pure enjoyment in the moment. Yeah.
But what a world leaning into roguelikes. We had obviously the success of Returnal. Now we've got God of War Ragnarok. We've got Last of Us coming out in January, remastered with roguelike elements as well. With their No Left Behind, not Left Behind, No Return, No Behind. I can't remember what it was called. I'm sure it's somewhere. Moving on from God of War
TV show though. They need to do it.
I think they've announced it, right? There's Horizon definitely happening. But we digress. Moving on, we've got plenty of game announcements to get through. Jurassic Park Survival was an announcement that happened through, and actually caught us off guard because we didn't really know what it was. I mean, we knew it was Jurassic Park immediately.
Yes, it's very obvious.
We didn't know what it was in terms of a game. It wasn't Jurassic World Evolution. It teases essentially elements from the first movie, seemingly. Lots of settings from the first movie. There's
so many scenes that just basically recreated.
Yeah, the visitor centre, the hat, the car location. And what we know since after the fact is that it is a horror survival game set just after the events of the Jurassic Park movie. So after, I'm guessing, Alan Grant and the squad left the island in the helicopter to safety, someone was left behind, one of the staff members, and she somehow has to, I guess, get to the docks or somehow signal for help. The developers actually, after the fact, did come out and say they're taking inspiration from Alien Isolation, which is what we said during the live show, Richie. I mean, this just sounds like it could work. The graphics in the showcase, even though it was pre-rendered footage, it looked great. And if they can do that, where it's not about action, it's very much just about survival and
it's survival horror.
I want to be hiding in cupboards, hiding under tables, behind screen doors and everything, and navigating dinosaurs hunting for me in the dark with very little resources like a torch and stuff, making my way through scenes from Jurassic Park, like sneaking around the visitor center, the kitchen, the outside part. Like, they have a definitive map, so they have plenty to play with in terms of setting and locations. And if it looks gorgeous, I think this could be a perfect instant classic for this genre.
Oh, 100%. There is a few actual in-game footage shots, and it looks like it's first person.
Yeah, which I guess lends itself better to horror, doesn't it? Because you're fully immersed in it then. I'm just glad it's not VR.
Be really cool.
Because I think that was our worry.
Yeah, my worry at first, but a VR version of this game.
Oh, absolutely.
Like how Resident Evil have traditionally done it. Could be really cool.
Absolutely. But we didn't really get a date or anything for it, but coming to PlayStation 5, funny enough, there was no Xbox logo on the promotion, but I'll take it. Which actually, being a PlayStation 5 exclusive could lend itself.
On the Jurassic World YouTube channel, it does say PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S.
Okay, fair enough. It might have just been promotional material then for that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. But I do agree a VR special would be great. Moving on to the next game announcement, kind of a bit of a bumper special one. SEGA didn't just tease one game, they teased 5 games in one with an interesting retro nostalgic look back with sonic sound effects and neon lights. They showed off 5 remakes, and that's just the beginning according to SEGA, for Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi. In one swoop, Sega just went, you love these games back in the day. We're going all in, doubling down, and just remaking them in, a 21st century image. Where do we even start with this one, Rich? I mean, I've got a lot of nostalgia for some of these games, but what is Sega playing at here with? Are they just like going, you know what, let's tear up the rule book. We've got this IP. They're all kind of laying dormant to all different levels of degrees. Let's just start again.
Sega have quietly becoming quite a strong position in the industry again, actually, when you think about it. Because all the Atlas stuff, that's all Sega. You've got all the Like a Dragon stuff.
Total War stuff.
Total War, yeah, stuff that's always doing well. Football Manager, Sega. Yeah,
less
so Sonic.
Hey, the movies are bringing them in money. We've got a Knuckles TV series coming soon.
I'm talking just in the gaming space, though.
Yeah.
And Sonic's always been hit and miss in the gaming space since a long time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's a good thing. It's like, let's dig back into our IP, some of the stuff that is like some of the cult classics in there that have maybe sat there dormant, and then what can we do with them in the modern era?
Yeah.
So I think it's good. Like, let's see what they can do with it.
Yeah, I hope they tweak them just enough. Golden Axe in particular looks like it's going to be a 3D action adventure game.
Yeah, in some ways, though, I'm not sure about that. There's something to be said for the old 2D style. But that could work if it's polished up to modern standards.
But does that make you money in today's world? Like, enough money to merit doing it? Because like, if we look at the new upcoming Prince of Persia game, looks fantastic. It will sell undoubtedly way less than a 3D open world Prince of Persia game would.
You're right, but it'll probably get much better critical acclaim, which could do well for your studio's like reputation going forward. So sometimes I think the decision shouldn't always just be about what makes the most money. Mm-hmm. I think you should look at the creative aspect as well. What makes the most sense for this IP and what will strengthen our studio overall so that the next game makes even more money.
Yeah. Again, I could see arguments on both fronts, but it's nice to see that these IP aren't dead.
I was surprised called Golden Axe. For me, unfortunately, it does just look a bit generic from the very short clips we've seen of it.
Yeah.
Things like Crazy Taxi just looks like Crazy Taxi, and Shinobi looks like Shinobi. Jet Set Radio looks like Jet Set Radio. It was Golden Axe, the one where it feels very different from what I remember, and then you're at a risk of losing the original charm of them games.
Yeah, or maybe it's been that long that there's not real Golden Axe fans about anymore, and you're better to change it up and bring in a new audience with that sprinkle of nostalgia for the older crowd.
But my worry is if it's looking and feeling a bit too generic, are you going to even achieve that? So then you alienate your traditional fans and don't make any new ones.
Well, maybe
I want to see more. More.
Yeah, maybe time will tell. I mean, time will tell. But yeah, 5 games in development, and it says and more. So that I'm sure they're looking to dip into other ones instead. The scenes of Crazy Taxi remake just made me earn more for Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yeah, that's harder to do.
Or Road Rage. Oh yeah, it is. But there's been rumors about it for so long. Come on, Disney, stop licensing Marvel out to everyone and give us Simpsons Hit and Run remastered. Do it. Moving on, though, to the next big game, which is another one that caught me out in my sleep-deprived state. Light No Fire was confirmed by the No Man's Sky development games. We had Sean Murray stand on stage, had a bit of a chat about it, talking about being the most ironically enough, from the No Man's Sky team, this is the most adventurous game they've ever made. And I've seen a few tweets about it since, joking, where people saying, Sean, just go on stage and say, we're making a new game, it's early in development, we're excited to show you more. Instead, he comes out and says, we're building Earth. We're making an entire planet for you to explore.
It's like he hasn't learned.
Online multiplayer with your friends. And I saw him actually retweet that quote, just saying, fuck, like, himself. So he's very tongue-in-cheek. But you know what? In a weird way, No Man's Sky's redemption arc, if there was one studio who knows how to make an open-world game now with multiplayer aspects, I think it's these guys. And when we watched the trailer, this is in my sleep-deprived state, I thought this was an expansion for No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
when he was talking about we want the mountains to feel like mountains, and I think an example around is like if you go up a mountain in Skyrim, you can get from top to bottom in like 60 seconds.
If you got a horse, you can just float up.
Yeah, he wants the mountains to feel like not game mountains, but real mountains in this world. So he's gone huge on the scale. He wants everyone to join in, live on this planet together, and I think No Man's Sky has shown him he can do it on a literal galactic scale. And it seems to have paid off because No Man's Sky is phenomenally successful now. And if you can just condense it to one planet, that could be awesome. So, it looks great.
Yeah, so this is a survival sandbox game. That's how it's getting described as, at least by GameSpot on their YouTube video they've got put up. And I think, going from like taking the entire universe and condensing it into one planet, I think it could be really great. One of the criticisms, obviously, oddly, of Starfield was there's a lot of planets out there, but they always feel kind of barren and lifeless.
Yeah.
Looking at the trailer and this, it looks like they went the exact opposite way. When we're just going to do one planet and we're going to do it to the best we possibly can be and just chuck you in it.
It's kind of
here's a world, go have some fun.
It's kind of what they make this world that seemingly is probably going to feature a lot of procedural generated stuff, biomes and whatnot, and then they called it Earth. Like, it could have anything else they could have went with to keep it separate
set
from
on a
our
fantasy
reality.
planet the size of Earth.
I'm sure it says Earth in the... Oh, he said, Sean Murray said Earth, but it might just... Again, that can change in the marketing.
It's tongue-in-cheek. He's called... we're making a planet.
Made of Earth.
We're making... Yeah, well, I think as well... I think that's probably a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's probably going out and going, we're making a planet like Earth, where it's got lots of different stuff, quite a lot of different biomes, if you want to use that word, rather than just doing the classic, almost a Star Warsy thing, where one planet has one set of geography, one set of weather conditions. Yeah. We're not doing that.
You mean,
we're just like...
I mean,
every planet
doesn't have any beaches and thermal spas. Like, all ice.
This feels like a proper planet that has a lot of stuff in it. Like, as you travel from different parts of the planet, the weather conditions will change, the environments may change.
Yeah. But yeah, up to a group of 4 players at once. I'm guessing, seemingly playing in one server. It was all in-game footage that was shown off, so very, very impressive stuff. And
I think this could be a massive hit in the survival game.
I think it could be as well. And it's got that ambition of...
And you can ride a bloody dragon.
Exactly. And that's always going to be cool, right? Yeah, I thought it looked great. But yeah, at the time, thought it was just No Man's Sky expansion because they shit them out like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Apparently, no, it's something very, very ambitious and it looks very, very cool. So yeah, hopefully it gets its credit when it comes out. Moving on to our next surprise announcement, we got Final Fantasy XVI expansion news, and we got the double surprise that not only did we see the trailer within the game, but Richie, it was available immediately. So for those Final Fantasy XVI fans out there, Richie currently playing it, me currently in my Game of the Year conversation, we got the reveal that we're getting 2 DLCs. The first one, Echoes of the Fallen, which is available right now. I think it's about £7.99, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure what the price is, but there is like a double package that you can buy, which I think is probably going to be the cheapest way to...
Yeah, I think it's 20 quid for that one. So it's 7 for... I don't know how it works. But basically, Echoes of the Fallen is available right now. And then it's going to be followed up with new chapter, The Rising Tide, which is going to come in spring 2024. Clive and the company stand up. It takes place just before the finale of the game. So I think that's how they're going to get around narrative things that happen in the finale. And it caught me off guard. I was like, we've asked for it, but I didn't expect it so soon. New fights. It looks like it features Leviathan, which I know is important to Final Fantasy lore. It means nothing to me, really, but...
That's Rising Tide. Rising Tide features Leviathan.
Okay, what's Leviathan? Just fill me in.
The big weird snake thing that you see in the trailer.
Okay. Is it in previous Final Fantasy games? Is it like a big...
Yeah, he's one of like the
villain?
recurring summons. So in this game, he would be an Arkane.
It's like a flying Gyarados.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Cool. I think I've seen someone fight him in Final Fantasy 15.
He's in 7 Remake.
Right, okay, so he's a recurring villain. But either way, Final Fantasy DLC, surprising out now. I now have that moral dilemma. I guess I have that dilemma where, you know, when I say after I wrap up with Alan Wake 2, what do I play? And it's like, I've still got Burning Shores DLC to go back to. I've now got this God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC dropping. Now I've got Final Fantasy 16 DLC that's out right now. I have to make a decision. Do I want to go back and buy Cyberpunk Unlimited Edition? Avatar Frontiers of Pandora? What do I do, folks? Let me know in the comments below.
This is when the timing of a DLC works well for me, especially with Echoes of the Fallen being almost seeming like we're going to slightly expand the original narrative that we're trying to tell. Yeah. It's probably cut content, to be honest, that they've polished up, finished off, and we're going to stick it back in because we've had time to finish it. Mm-hmm. Where Rise and Tide feels like an actual true expansion.
Yeah, they planned that one out, whereas Echoes was like, ooh, we can now.
Echoes feels
the game's been received very well. What have we got left on the cutting room floor? Pick it back up and stick it back in somewhere.
It's probably... I wouldn't be surprised if it's like late game. It's like content that was cut late in the development cycle just because they're running out of time, and it probably wasn't 100% impactful to the overall narrative. Absolutely. But if it's pretty cool, it's like, well, let's just do it now. We'll get a DLC. We'll sweeten the deal by giving you a Cloud Strife Buster Sword.
Yeah, make it purely
which ties nicely in a bit with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which has got a new trailer as well.
It did, yeah. Got teased as well a little bit more. Got a musical number 2 in engine. Yeah. Very fancy. But more Final Fantasy 16. Great. I guess it kind of makes up for the lack of presence at the Game Awards. Got shafted for Game of the Year. It did win Best Music, I think, Direction or something, but we'll get into the winners in a short while. As we power through these games, because again, busy show, as I mentioned. Next up, we got, I'd say, Exodus. The reason I wanted to bring this on, the wasted time getting Matthew McConaughey out there, because he said loads of nonsense stuff, and he did his catchphrase, and then he wasn't even in the trailer. He said he was there to voice a character in the game. We said, I think, in the live show, he's probably not going to do the actual mocap work for it. It's purely just his voice coming in.
This is where I have a bit more criticism of Jeff Keighley at the moment, where he seems to be obsessed with celebrity.
Yeah, he wants to
we can get celebrity in, that'll do great. It's like, will it? I don't think gamers care that much about the celebrities in my game. As long as they do a good job, I don't think you care that much, really, do you?
No, they all just blur into one, especially if his character's not even going to really look like him, then it doesn't really make a big impression on that. But
even if it does.
He did introduce...
You might get that moment and go, is that Matthew McConaughey? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but weirdly enough, we got a CGI-heavy trailer, and then eventually when they showed what little gameplay, they showed off like 10, 15 seconds of it. The gameplay actually looked really good. Looked like Outriders meets Mass Effect. Yeah. In a way, and that's no surprise because the interesting thing about this is it's from Archetype Entertainment. It's a new studio made up of former BioWare developers and a subsidiary of Wizards of the Coast. So the debut trailer introduced the main character, known as the Traveller, and it also introduces, which Matthew McConaughey talked about, time dilation mechanics. So whatever you do when you go out on missions impacts your team and family back home on supposedly Earth because of time dilation. So you go out, you fuck up on a mission, you get home, and I don't know, your daughter's 20-year-old, or she's dead. I don't know what of those many outcomes that can happen with time. Weirdly enough, it's basically Interstellar, the movie, into a game, it seems like. And it's got Matthew McConaughey, however you spell it. Exodus, probably not coming out sometime in the near future. But it's interesting with the BioWare devs, I think. That's the one thing that intrigues me.
What new studio isn't made up of former BioWare devs?
That is true. BioWare itself could do some good classic BioWare devs. Exodus coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC in the near future. I mean, I like the fact it's new IP, and I hope it does really, really well. It looks like you're fighting some kind of sentinel creatures from Xbox, from X-Men, robots and aliens alike. But yeah,
it feels like with the time dilation stuff, that might be the one thing in there that makes it not just generic off the shelf sci-fi. Because I think sci-fi and fantasy are two of my favorite genres, but they are so high risk for just feeling generic as hell.
Yeah, space.
Yeah.
Tell you what wasn't generic as hell. The next game from developers of Untitled Goose Game, Big Walk. And I don't really know what to say about Big Walk, Richie. It showed a lush, gorgeous world with almost characters that look like they're frame models for Pingu.
Let's just make our character out a few colourful circles.
Yeah, Big Walk is a cooperative multiplayer adventure about teamwork and talking where players will band together to solve puzzles and make new discoveries. It's from House, of course, don't discredit them, but yeah. I have no idea what to make of this game. It looks like a combination of, not Gang Beasts, what's it, Human Fall Flat, where you have to solve puzzles in a world together, and it's going to have comedic beats to it, but it looks like it could be a
very
laugh.
slapstick.
Proper laugh.
But it's just like, it's the character design in what is almost a photorealistic world.
Yeah.
The graphic design of the world, it looks slightly stylized, and the characters look like they're being made by a 6-year-old with 4 colours.
I do kind of like it though.
I do. It's just, it's quite jarring at first, but then it's like, I think it's got a lot of charm to it.
It does. It's a little bit like Grounded, actually. Quite a realistic world, but then the characters are quite cartoony in it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
quite cartoony.
I mean, you're very cartoony. Yeah, puzzle solving, adventure, teamwork could be really good. Again, don't write them off because Untitled Goose Game won Game of the Year at the DICE Awards that year. So yeah, Big Walk by House coming out 2025. Again, this goes back to how many games, Richie, are getting. Do you think next year is going to be a big void? We don't know what's really coming out next year. We could guess Wolverine, but
I think the stuff. I mean, we got a new Hellblade trailer.
We got
dates for that. Yeah. We've got Rise of the Ronin dates, Skull and Bones, Black Myth Wukong, Space Marine 2.
We left
literally just reading the list of dates.
Yeah, we left Hellblade out of the main stories because once again, disappointingly, it didn't get a date. It got a year. Great, it's coming out next year. Would have been nice to get a season, like we said. I think like autumn, winter, spring.
Again, we got a new trailer. It looked great, but
we got nothing for Stalker 2 either, which is the big expectation.
Yeah,
predictions.
Because I was thinking that might be the first big tentpole for next year for Xbox.
One of, I guess, the other final games I want to touch on, which I think intrigued us a little bit, was from the people who make Dead by Daylight Behavior and Supermassive, who do The Quarry, and they did Until Dawn on PlayStation previously. So very much 2 horror behemoths teaming up to make a story-driven game. The casting of Frank Stone, which we believe is a character from Dead by Daylight, but we're not well versed in it. Great pairing up from 2 horror titans coming together to make a story-driven game with hopefully the better engine from Supermassive.
I'll read from GameSpot because it's just probably the easiest way to summarize it. A joint venture between Horror Houses, Behaviour Interactive, and Supermassive Games, the casting of Frank Stone is a narrative horror game set in the wider universe of Dead by Daylight, Behaviour's asymmetric multiplayer horror game. This debut trailer showed off some of the choices players will make throughout the story and also confirmed a 2024 release window for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. So they're taking a character, an original character from Dead by Daylight, then expanding on his backstory by the seams of it, and making a narrative adventure, which I think could be a recipe for awesome stuff.
Could be great. Could be absolutely terrific. Yeah. We know they've got pedigree in this storytelling. Until Dawn's fantastic. Some of their other stuff very well received as well. What's it called? The trilogy, the anthology they're doing. I can't remember the name, but the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yeah.
That's got middling reviews, but overall in terms of horror, they seem to churn these out really, really at a good pace, and teaming up with another horror developer seems like the perfect mix of talent. So the casting of Frank Stone, as I said, coming 2024. Interesting. We did get some other dates in there to lock them in. You went through the list there. We've got Rise of the Ronin locked in for March 22nd. That's the first of the PlayStation exclusives we know about. Thinking time-wise, February 16th, Skull and Bones. We had the date leaked, but I guess this was the confirmation of Skull and Bones. Yeah. I will mention Skull and Bones. Well, the reason I mentioned during the live show, I wanted to bring it up. Ourselves, as part of the Ubisoft Partners Program, we do have access to the beta. I've got access to the beta. I should be getting a code at some point in the middle of December. But I was embargoed the other day, so I wasn't allowed to talk about it until after the 8th. So when it came up at the Game Awards, that's why I said remind me to talk about it on the show, because we're embargoed. So I've got the content pack and the behind this. I've got all the information I need. I'm waiting on a code, but I couldn't talk about it on any content until now. So
right, yeah. That's why when I said, "Can we just skip it?" he went, "No."
And then I sang a lovely sea shanty during the live show about Skull and Bones.
He did.
I did, and we've given it a lot of shit. But you know what? we are on the Ubisoft Partners program, so I'll be giving it a go to see if it's Black Flag reincarnated. Who will know? Who will know? But the game does come out February 16th. As I said, we got Hellblade, disappointing, only 2024 year locked in. We got a date for Black Myth Wukong, which is the Journey to the West story, which I think is going to be probably one of the most anticipated games of next year. August 20th, 2024. So we're starting to get into a world where it's the back end of the year. Like, this seems like getting a date so far out seems like a surprise.
Yeah, but there'll be stuff as well. We already know things like Final Fantasy VII's date and stuff like that.
We got a new trailer for it, and I think it's one of those titles that you and me are both hoping, and I think a lot of our audience are hoping, that Black Myth Wukong is just an action-adventure game and not a Souls-like.
Yeah. Or, as I said on the live show, it could be a Souls-like, but give me a difficulty slider. So if I want to turn it into a more easier going action-adventure game, I can.
You can indeed.
That's my only issue with Soulsborne games. I think some of them are great. The mechanics are great. The lore is great. But they make them unnecessarily difficult for my tastes. And if I could just drop a difficulty slider, and I could get a really good, enjoyable experience out of them.
Yeah.
But I don't like the stress of having to repeat the same fight over and over and over again till I master it.
Yeah.
I want to get through the narrative, get through that world, and explore what it has to offer at my pace.
Yeah. I'm currently watching a Elden Ring playthrough, and I think they're up to like part 22 maybe now. It's like 22 weeks in a row. And I'm sure the death counter is like almost at 500. And I'm just like, I'm not about that life. I'll watch it and enjoy it, and I know the game's fantastic, but in terms of myself, it's just it's not in there. And we say this every other week, don't we? So
all I'd be asking for as well is just drop the enemy just drop the difficulty, drop the enemy health bars, and drop the amount of damage they do. Yeah, that would be enough for me. I'll
take it. But in terms of the Game Awards, then, Richie, we got plenty of stuff to talk about. Is there any other things you want to quickly pick up on? We got Visions of Mana from Square Enix, I guess.
Yeah, I've never played any of the Mana games, so
but it's a new entry.
Something I would be
exciting.
It's a new entry. It could be exciting. But at some point, I'd like to find the time to go back and maybe give them a go. But there's so many games out there, and so it's like it was one of them. Okay, they're making new one of them games. I'm aware of this franchise.
Yeah,
and I hope it does well.
Yeah, I agree.
If that comes out and it's like 9s and 10s out of 10s, that could potentially be the first one I play. That's kind of my hope for it. If it comes out and goes, this is a must play, then I will probably play it.
That'd be cool. But yeah, plenty of other stuff in there. Don't Nod, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, a couple of other things in there. If there are any particular games that you would like us to talk about in future episodes or keep tabs on, do let us know in the comments below. If there's any standout ones for you, do let us know in the comments below. There's so many games we've got to spoke about, but we didn't get around to it because we do want to get to the winners and talk about the GTA news that happened this week at some point in a condensed podcast form. Speaking of the winners, though, pivoting away, we've got Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3. Took home Game of the Year. I think no surprise really to all of us.
I think it seemed to be the easy choice.
Absolutely. It also did get its release on Xbox. It stealth dropped on the day. Didn't come to Game Pass, disappointingly enough. And unfortunately, they did kind of confuse everyone. If you confused us, if you recall, they showed a trailer for Baldur's Gate 3 randomly about halfway through the show. And then the trailer ended with "It's party time." Rather than saying "out now," available now, it just said "It's party time." And that was apparently the message that was supposed to convey the game being out on Xbox right now. And I think it got lost a little bit in the muddle because we were like, oh no, it's not on Game Pass.
And that was it. The Sven Vinke, I think, isn't it how it's pronounced? Because he turned up to the Game Awards in the suit of armour.
He did. What a legend. During his speech, you could hear the trophy clanging off the metal. It's just like, what a baller. And he got all of 60 seconds to talk about his victory lap. But no one rushed the stage this year. No Bill Clinton.
They should do an award for Best Dressed at the Game Awards because he would have taken it.
They should. I don't know. Gonzo was looking pretty sharp up there with his
Gonzo was sharp, but
Gonzo
didn't turn up in the suit of armour.
He didn't.
And he was dressed too much like Jeff Keighley, so...
There he was. So yes, Game of the Year. Congratulations to Baldur's Gate and Larian Studios. Very much well deserved, seemingly. Again, haven't played it, but there's been enough of a groundswell around it to see that. So we'll get to that. Going through them, best direction, Alan Wake 2. My boy Alan Wake is up there, Richie. He got best game direction, sorry. Best adaptation was won by The Last of Us, no surprise. Best narrative was also Alan Wake 2. And I kind of wanted to shout out, for me personally, the musical performance from the Old Gods of Asgard was just like, I've listened to that song over this weekend so much. And again, for anyone out there who's played the ashtray maze in Control, and if you thought the music was epic in this, Alan Wake 2 with the scene with this song, it just elevates it on every front. And what was great is they got the band, I think it's called something Poets, it is a real band behind the scenes.
Someone in our Discord was telling us.
I do
keep
follow
talking,
them.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, you look it up. It's something Poets of something. They're the real band who represented, and they get all the voice actors, the facial actor for Alan Wake, wall and door actor and stuff, and they basically recreated the scene from in the game in real person. And I think for me to play it so recently, it's very, very rare, Richie, that you see a video game translate to a live stage performance, if that's ever happened before. Because obviously video games are fictional, and they usually don't look like their counterparts. Like Troy Baker getting up does not look like Joel, and Nolan North does not look like Nathan Drake. So if you did something physically, but then why would you have them at a games while performing? But because this is so musically influenced, it was just like the most it was like seeing a video game come to life, and it was just tickled my boxes all over the place. The song's epic, the genre of music is right up our street. I think you haven't even played the game, and the rock elements in there were just all there to see, and all the 80s glory. What was the band? Poets of
the Fall.
Of the Fall, yeah. They're epic. I'm going to go listen to their other stuff. And if you go to the website, they've actually got a full range of Old Gods of Asgard merchandise now out, like t-shirts, mugs, cups, CDs. Just play into it. But yeah, best art direction, Alan Wake also won the best art direction, so absolutely sweeping it. Moving on to the rest of the awards, though. Best score and music.
Poets of the Fall. Long-standing history with Remedy, actually. Writing songs for Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, Alan Wake's American Nightmare Control, and Alan Wake 2.
It's a good gig, isn't it, really, if you think about it?
Yeah, they seem to be their go-to guys.
Like, I'd be curious how many more people check them out because of them being in the game.
Yeah.
And then, naturally, being a fan of their music probably influences you to buy the game. It's like a happy business deal to have, I think, for a lot of them.
Yeah. They're a real band as well.
Yeah.
Not just a fake in-game band.
Yeah, I've been listening to some of their other music, and it's right up my street. Best score and music didn't go to Alan Wake 2, unfortunately, but it did go to Final Fantasy XVI, which I'm so glad the music got some recognition in there, because the orchestral pieces in that game are just chef's kiss.
Final Fantasy music is amazing.
It is, yeah. You should do a whole
Final Fantasy and Zelda. Final Fantasy, they do. I've been to it.
I know.
Final Fantasy and Zelda are the best music in video games, full stop. I can't pick which one. If I had to go, I'd go lean slightly towards Zelda, but that's just because my fandom of Zelda is slightly more than my fandom of Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Best audio design went to Hi-Fi Rush, which again, another shout out to Hi-Fi Rush for their music. They had to win in some music category. They just had to. So yeah, shout out to Hi-Fi Rush. Xbox's first Game Awards victory for something that wasn't Forza in a long time. We got best performance went to Neil Newborn, was the Baldur's Gate 3. Congratulations. Yep. Forza Motorsport did win in terms of accessibility award. Games for Impact, Tchaya, the one Stadia exclusive, picked up the Games for Impact award, which I saw a couple of people on our social media actually lament the loss of Google Stadia again, with Baldur's Gate 3 winning Game of the Year. Its early development was so helped with Google Stadia and cloud gaming.
The irony,
and remote working.
If Google Stadia was still here and it still kept hold of its IPs and potential IPs, we'd have had Overdose as an announcement from Kojima. We would have had Games for Impact and Tchaya, Game of the Year and Baldur's Gate. It would have beat Xbox and Nintendo.
Yeah. We would have also had Best Ongoing Game in Cyberpunk.
Yep.
Would have also been there.
Destiny was in the mix as well.
Yeah.
Here and there, they could have.
Who knows?
Didn't Sabotage do stuff with Google Stadia as well?
But, I mean, potentially you could go down the rabbit hole on that. But yeah, it is just a what if scenario. But yeah, what do you know? Best community support went to Baldur's Gate 3 as well. Best independent game, shout out to your Sea of Stars, Richie. Won best indie game as well. Best debut indie game went to Cocoon. Best mobile game, Honkai Star Rail. Called that one. Best VR game went to Resident Evil Village. Best action game went to Armored Core, Fires of Rubicon. Best action adventure game went to Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Didn't get as many awards as I was expecting this time around. Legend of Zelda.
No, I think because feels very much like Breath of the Wild 2. It's the same with Jedi Survivor. And Spider-Man 2 actually. All three of these massive titles fall in the same kind of thing where it's the next one in the thing, and the thing before is what redefined that genre.
Indeed. Best RPG, Baldur's Gate 3. Best fighting game, Street Fighter 5. Best family game, Super Mario Wonder. Look at us pinging through these. It's almost as though we're at the actual Game Awards, the pace we're getting through them. Best sim strategy game, Pikmin 4. Best esports racing, Forza Motorsport. So Xbox getting a couple of things for Forza. Best multiplayer game, Baldur's Gate 3. Most anticipated game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And the content creator of the year, Iron Mouse, and we start getting into the awards that no one really, really cares about.
Yeah, if you're in the esports stuff news, we're not the channel for it.
We are not at all. And then the Player's Voice Award, which was voted for by you, the audience out there, went to Baldur's Gate 3 as well. So a good clean sweep for Baldur's Gate 3. I did add into the notes, I wanted to bring it up a little bit, but Insomniac, Richie, they're just basically becoming the Meryl Streep of the awards ceremonies, where they put out so many good performances and they don't win jack shit. So between Spider-Man 2 going all the way back to Ratchet and Clank games, been nominated for it in the past. What was their Xbox exclusive? Why can't I remember off the top of my head now?
Gravity Rush, was it?
No,
was that
not Gravity Rush. Looks like Gravity Rush in a lot of aspects. Can't remember it. It'll come to me. But in terms of Insomniac, it looks like that. Again, it's got that vibe.
I'll get that.
It'll come to me. But basically, Insomniac, one of the best video game developers out there right now, one of PlayStation's best developers out there right now. Over the last few years, Richie, they've had 23 nominations at the Game Awards across multiple categories. They've won none of them. Not one category.
They've not picked up a single award.
Nope. That's crazy, isn't it, to say that? Like, looking at the pedigree of games they put out.
You know what I think it is? They're amazing games, but none of them are really ever that genre-defining. Mm-hmm. Maybe Spider-Man could have got there, but unfortunately, the year it came out in, there was better that year, unfortunately. So this is, I think, they're always in the mix. Like, even for narrative design is amazing. But then someone else just slightly steps up that slight step higher.
Mm-hmm. Crazy, right?
Which is... there should be like a lifetime achievement category, and then that's where they'll get the first win.
They might get the award for most nominations ever at the Game Awards, if only. Yeah, poor Insomniac, but at least the games are still great. They might not win the awards, but they're still terrific games, none the same. Congratulations to all of the winners, all of the runners-up. We'll see you again at the next time, but overall, I think no shocks, really. I think the biggest one, I think that still is irking quite a few people, is the Cyberpunk winning Best Ongoing Game. But I guess that's a credit to the devs doubling down and fixing the game and improving it and getting some great DLC.
Yeah, see, that's why I'd argue that should have been community support rather than ongoing game, but that's done.
Yeah, it's been and gone, and I'm sure Jeff will take that on board and sort it out for next time round.
It's not his decision. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's the gaming press that shortlists it, so...
Well, that's true. Okay, so moving on from the Game Awards then, after 1 hour, 10 minutes worth of the show, let's get into some other big gaming news that happened this year, Richie. This year. In fact, it did happen this year. This week, Grand Theft Auto 6. It's real. It's called 6. We got a trailer. It lasted for like all of 90 seconds, and yet it blew the world's socks off in terms of pretty much on all fronts. Any category you could tell me, if it's like interactions, uproar,
it's got Guinness World Records,
people wanting it cancelled, lawsuits already happening. You couldn't look away from this thing. But yeah, good point you mentioned that. Yeah, Guinness World Record breaking, because in terms of its YouTube views, within the first 24 hours, it racked up over 90 million and a half views almost. In less than. And bear in mind, this wasn't the scheduled one. This is because the trailer leaked. Just ahead of time, Rockstar just went, fuck it, just put the trailer out, watch the original done, watch a crappy version that's got Bitcoin advertisements over the top of it. Those guys are assholes. just go watch the real one in all its 4K glory. They put it out, and just the hype just went boom, caught everybody off guard. Like last Monday night, maybe Tuesday night? I can't remember. It was one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, 90 million views. It's well past the 100 million views now. It's going to be one of the most views video trail things of all time. And as I said, it just took the world by storm. We've seen one of the people who's in it who's got tattoos all over his face. He's apparently trying to sue Rockstar for his likeness images being used. You've got news reporters, journalists and stuff jumping on the bandwagon saying the game needs to be cancelled because of all the boobs and ass and stuff in this game. It's like, have you never seen a Grand Theft Auto game before? It's like, it's appropriately aged for the content that it's doing.
That's like going to doing something like that at South Park in 2023. It's like, the world knows what this is by now. And if you don't, that's on you. Like, if you've got kids, don't let them play this game.
Yeah.
You should know. You have a daughter, Chris. Would you let her play Grand Theft Auto?
Not for another few months, no.
Yeah. Would you play Grand Theft Auto around her?
No.
Like, that's parenting, to be honest,
again.
I think.
But then this is the thing with, like, where governments overstep their mark with jumping, like, it's got an age rating.
The panic.
It's regulation. Yeah, it's like, oh, no. It's because it's big, and what's annoyed me about Grand Theft Auto being so big is just everyone jumping on the bandwagon with it. Like, I saw some stuff this week from, like, Match of the Day, BBC, taking like it was Arsenal's manager and putting his face onto the character from GTA to be like, oh, what would the lineup of, I think it was
cheap content creation. Yeah. That's what it is.
What would the lineup of TalkSport Radio look like if they were in Grand Theft Auto and it took the faces and ran them through a shitty AI generator to make them look like GTA characters? And it's like, what are you doing other than trying to get in on the hashtag?
That's it. That's exactly what they're doing.
It's embarrassing.
What annoys me is when it's like proper journalistic institutions are focusing on this, not necessarily covering it. I don't mind them covering it when they're using like recreations of their art assets and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, are you more interested in clicks and journalism then?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyway, without going deep down that rabbit hole, because that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, I mean, did I change our thumbnail for last week's episode to reflect the GTA 6 trailer? Yes, I did. But we're a desperate content creator trying to make a living.
Yeah.
We're not, like I said, a national institute. But again, won't digress.
And it was also in the news last week.
Yeah. It was. The trailer was. So we did it for you to get the accurate representation up. But records continue to break. One of the ones I wanted to point was Tom Petty's song, which features in the trailer, which is "Love Is a Long Road." A more lesser known Tom Petty song. It's not Free Fall or anything like that. That also racked up an increase, Richie, of 36,979% increase of streams over on musical platforms. So. Shout out to Tom Petty's agents, because he's passed away now, so all the royalties are going to someone
whoever's the owner of his estate.
Absolutely. But in terms of Grand Theft Auto, then, it's huge. We know it's got a number now. It's set in Vice City and the wider state of the fictional Florida, or Louisiana or something they've called it. I think we don't know how to pronounce the name yet. We know we've got our two protagonists, seemingly male and female, on some kind of crime spree breaking out. We don't know. I've seen rumours that he might be an undercover cop, judging by his apparel that he's wearing. People have gone deep on this game, as you can imagine, like 90 Easter eggs and this and that. We've seen crocodiles breaking into convenience stores, which is a real life thing. We've seen a lady with two hammers, which was a real thing that happened. Florida's batshit crazy, Richie. I don't know if you've ever been to Florida. It lends itself to a lot of comedy, let's say the least. But I do love Florida.
I've just been looking, as we were talking, when you mentioned Tom Petty, we haven't been content claimed for the Game Awards stream yet.
Have we not?
So go watch it now. We're still learning.
Wow. Yeah, go get that in. This episode of the show will not actually have the GTA trailer because Rockstar are very litigious when it comes to...
They literally claimed us last week.
Yeah.
I had to re-edit it. So if members last week were wondering why the video went up for members only, then disappeared, and a few hours later came back up, it's because I went back in and re-edited the trailer.
We usually have to do that a few times.
Yeah.
It's them, and I want to say Capcom or Konami are quite annoying with it. Bandai Namco, they are as well. But back to the game. Grand Theft Auto, we are, again, 2 years out, or not really 2 years, because we're almost in 2024, but 2025 is the date. My guess is it'll launch in the June time, like summer seems to be the tradition for Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts then? Where are you sitting on it? Graphically, gameplay-wise? Obviously, it's just a teaser, so you don't really get much of the game.
Full disclosure, CGI trailers do very little for me. I knew this game was... And I should also mention that I knew this game was coming. I knew it was going to be set in Vice City. I knew it was going to be dual protagonists. So there wasn't really anything new in this trailer for me. So it hasn't moved the needle at all. I think it's a very good first teaser trailer. If you are not a content creator and you're not listening to Gamer Guild or other podcasts like it, and you're just sat there playing Grand Theft Auto 5 occasionally, and then this drops, I think you'll be very happy with what you saw. Unnecessary amount of twerking, but it was there, if that's what you're into. But yeah, I think the trailer is good in every single way, but I don't think it's great. Even graphically, I think the most impressive thing graphically is actually there was a panning shot of the beach of Vice City, and there's a lot of characters on that beach.
Yeah,
that is impressive. The actual art style itself, we've seen better. So this is the thing. I don't think it's elevate. While I'm not a graphics snob, I can be a little bit like when I look at this and look at the graphics and go, they're very good. But that's all they are. They're not elevating graphical technology, anything. Yeah. It's not like OD.
And we know this with open world games anyway. There's always limitations on how much you have to cut corners somewhere. I personally thought it looked great. It looked better than the last game, which is what I expect. Yeah. They have the money and the budget to put into it.
It looks like a very decent level current gen game.
Yeah. I think it looks a bit better than current gen. I think it's got some polish. There's something, again, it's only a teaser, so we're not going to look too much into it. We're not going to do a full Easter egg breakdown or anything like that, but I'm excited for it. It's a shame it's another year out, but I've waited long enough now. I'll inevitably be playing it anyway, day one. I enjoyed the story of 5. I enjoyed the gameplay of 5. I enjoy every Grand Theft Auto game I've ever played, even back to Grand Theft Auto London, back on the PS1. But it's just been so long that I'm kind of like indifferent towards it now. So I'll probably, no doubt, when I get it and play it, I'll be like, this is fantastic. And we'll probably do loads with it. But for now...
It didn't answer any of the questions I have for the game. All the stuff we were speculating on last week didn't answer a single question. Like, is this going to be online? Is it going to be single player? How is it going to work with Grand Theft Auto online? All that sort of questions. But as I said, this is a first trailer, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, take it for what it is. I'm just happy we're back in Vice City. Give me some 80s music. Give me some Phil Collins. Let me drive around, listen to the radio, and just view that city remade in the wider state. And I'm just curious to see what Rockstar do with all their billions and billions of pounds/dollars. But I'm sure it'll smash more records. I'm sure the next trailer will have even more, but we've got a little while to wait. So let us know in the comments below what your feedback and ideas and thoughts are on the Grand Theft Auto trailer. Did you watch it? Did you enjoy it? What would you want to see from it? Let us know below.
Is this actually the first formal announcement of the existence of Grand Theft Auto 6?
I believe they put out something a while ago saying it is coming, but that was about it.
Yeah.
And you can see why, because the world just goes into a frenzy over it. This game is going to sell tens of millions without any problems. It could even get a bad score rating and it would still probably sell the same numbers. Moving on, though, to some smaller news stories of the week as we do round out this week's busy chock-a-block episode. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, unfortunately, has been lost in the mix a little bit this past week. However, it should not be all seen as bad because the game is reviewing quite well. Looking at some of the reviews over on the world of the internet, we've got Destructoid giving it a 9 out of 10. If you walked away from Avatar wishing a world like Pandora actually existed out there, here you go. That is that world. This is that world, in fact. Seeing Pandora is one thing, but being able to scale its massive treetops so high above its floating mountains on an Ikran and traverse its wide open plains on the back of a dire horse is something really special. This is the best version of Avatar yet. Reading from Dextero, they gave it an 8 out of 10. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is an exceptional realisation of this franchise. Its spirit feels pitch perfect, walking completely in step with James Cameron's films. It understands Avatar and its appeal and lets it be led by that rather than the typical first person and Ubisoft tropes. It soars high, whilst also taking on some harrowing themes too. It may not work for everyone, but it's a delight for any Avatar fan and one of the best games based on a film IP ever made. Rounding out the scores, VGC give it a 4 out of 5, IGN give it a 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5 from Games Radar, and then a couple of other high scores and middle scores too. Overall, on Metacritic, it's sitting on a 74. So your typical Ubisoft tropes, Richie, 7 to 8 is pretty much the standard bar that Ubisoft tend to hit. But overall, though, the praise and the general consensus around Avatars, everybody seems to be enjoying it. It's just a shame it's came out at the back end of a blockbuster year where everybody is still playing the phenomenal list of games we just spent an hour or more discussing and breaking down. And I personally have been caught up in that. This game would have been a shoo-in buy for me. Big Ubisoft fan. I'm an Avatar fan. Yes. And now I'm in this world now where I've got to compete with Cyberpunk Unlimited Edition, all these various DLCs and expansions, or something else. So
that's basically the crux of my criticism over Ubisoft in recent years, where 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 games are good. I will enjoy them. I enjoy things like Far Cry, I enjoy things like Assassin's Creed. But there's usually something I'd rather be playing. So I look at that score nowadays and going, that's not quite good enough to draw my attention to make it for me want to play your game over someone else's.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. That is the head-to-head competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as big of an Avatar fan as you. However, I am on record as saying I think the world of Avatar suits games better than movies. I think that is such a nice world that I could really get lost in.
Yeah. And they've seemingly nailed that.
But the reviews seem to be anywhere from 6 to 10. So I think I want to see some more reviews come out. The kind of before I really cast my final decision on this game. I'm still interested in it in a kind of passing way.
Mm-hmm.
And with also things like Assassin's Creed Mirage out this year, which I haven't got round to playing to, another game that I would describe as on the backlog rather than just a game I'm interested in.
Yeah.
At some point, I might go Ubisoft Ubisoft Plus and play both.
Yeah,
but I don't. Maybe if next year is a bit quieter,
hang fire till January, and you can get Prince of Persia in that mix as well. And
I doubt it's going to be January.
Skull and Bones in February. Then you can get all four.
The thing is, I doubt it's going to be January because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is February.
Yeah,
I'm currently playing Final Fantasy 16, and in between, I might play something like Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
So
this is the problem. So much stuff, but it's good to know it's doing well. I think Ubisoft needed to win. It goes back to Ubisoft's business problem of timelines and roadmaps. We know a lot of developers suffer from this, but if this game's coming out and it's getting like varying scores, probably on average around about the 8 out of 10 mark, this was due out last year when the movie came out. And I feel like it would have benefited so much. One, not being in this year, because this year
in the same hype cycle as the movie. In
the movie, in a quieter year, it would have been great. Now it's had to be pushed back, and unfortunately, the next entry in the movie doesn't come out until next Christmas. So I
enjoyed the movie.
I enjoyed the movie. It feast for the eyes. I saw it in IMAX, and I was blown away.
Now I think I enjoyed it more because I didn't see it as a feast for the eyes. I got to focus more on the characters and the story because I saw it on an aeroplane.
So. Mixing conversations though, but yeah, it just seems like typical Ubisoft stepping on a rake problems where it's like, yeah, if you released it last year, probably would have done better. Release it next year, probably would have done better. And yet you come out in the most stacked year in video game history.
But they also didn't really have a choice.
They don't. You can't just sit on it. Yeah.
They haven't had a big title this year, and it wasn't ready last year.
Yeah. I mean, Mirage was arguably their big one this year.
It's literally not a big title. That's kind of the point of that game.
I mean, the franchise, then.
It's franchise. But that's what I mean. Like, you needed more than just Mirage this year.
Yeah. No Far Cry this year, no Division entry, couple of bits and pieces. But, hopefully Ubisoft, this is the kickstart again that they need heading into next year. Hopefully Skull and Bones gets 8 and plus. Prince of Persia, hopefully, will review well in January. And then
I think Prince of Persia will do well.
I think it will.
Because with it being a 2D thing, it's breaking from the typical Ubisoft like massive open world collectathon-y stuff, and kind of going, right, it's going to be a bit tighter, I think, and that's where I think it'll thrive. Yeah. I think a lot of people will look at Prince of Persia and go, this is really good.
Yeah, I think so too. But shout out to Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Let us know in the comments if you've played it, if you're checking out, if you've bought it, or you're going to get it on Ubisoft Plus. I think my problem with it, not other problem, but decision-making problem, is Ubisoft games properly drop in price very, very quick. And I'm telling myself, I can just hold out till New Year. They will probably be a January sale where this game will be £20 cheaper. And for the sake of a few weeks' patience.
And if it's not a must-play immediately, then you're better off waiting.
Yeah. Dilemma, folks. Let's just do a quick round of some final story updates, Richie. We won't get too much into them. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is seemingly coming to PlayStation Plus. That's right, the PlayStation 1 classic one of my favourite Star Wars games of all time, from way back in 1999, is apparently coming to PlayStation Plus Classics. It's been rated and released on the Taiwanese ratings board. Sorry, get my words mixed up there. Taiwanese, Japanese. It seems like Disney Classics are just propping up the PlayStation Classics library. We've got like the likes of Toy Story and Incredibles, some random movie tie-in shit that's shown up on PlayStation Classics. But hey, if it works, it works. Go back and relive Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Anakin's adventure with Darth Maul. The one thing this game does have going for it, Richie, although the graphics don't hold up to their standard, it rocks Duel of the Fates nearly every other level. So if you just want to walk around in a Star Wars game listening to one of the best soundtracks of all time, this is the game for you.
Yeah, I'm watching the trailer. Actually, I'm watching someone's like let's play of it, and I see what you mean. The graphics don't hold up now, but I think, to be honest, if you got nostalgia for it, you can overlook the graphics if it plays well enough, and you know what you're getting into. Chris has the original, but you know what you're getting into when you play an early 3D game. Yeah. If you're going in and expecting modern quality of graphics, then
the fact that I could wield a lightsaber and deflect laser blast back at enemies was like revolutionary to me. Reading from the back of the box, though, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. You ready? The taxation of trade routes to outlying systems is in dispute. The greedy Trade Federation has stopped all shipping to the small planet of Naboo with a blockade of deadly battleships. Live the saga. Take part in the events from Star Wars Episode 1 story and beyond, while taking on the roles of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Queen Amidala, and Captain Panaka. That's right, Captain Panaka himself. Unleash the powers of the Force, use your wits and cunning to overcome puzzles. At times, only a handy blaster or Jedi powers will suffice. Interact with hundreds of creatures and characters from the Star Wars worlds, and explore beautiful wonder streets of Naboo, Mos Espa, and through the skylanes of Coruscant. Special bonus includes the Star Wars Duel of the Fates music video. Is
that probably the only song they've got licensed? It's got kind of weird, slightly top-down view to it.
It does. It's like an old school one.
I
can't remember it, but
I wonder if it's a technique they use to kind of reduce the draw distance without making it obvious.
Looks beautiful. I'd go holiday and
oh god, yeah.
Feed.
I just love the meme how it's like, of all the ways you could start a Star Wars film, you start with a bloody trade dispute.
You do, but you do start like it's very much movie tie-in where you do start on the ship with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon when the gas comes into the room, then you have to escape from there. I do remember getting my ass handed to me all the times by those battle tanks. When you do get to Naboo, one of those guys is sat there, and I couldn't figure out how to get past them, and it took me so long. And then I realised you're not supposed to fight them; you're supposed to go around them.
Yeah,
classic.
I was gonna say, is this kind of classic old school video game design where because the narrative demands a tank's there, it's going to be in there.
It's there for the
but then it's completely overpowered.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that point in the game.
But, I mean, I love it. I love a remaster. This is one of the things I've said on a podcast many times, Richie. But movie tie-in games, I think, fully serve a purpose. If you could go back to some of the best movies of all time, especially ones with fighting in, and let me just replay them scene for scene with modern graphics, I would lap that shit up. If you give me like Star Wars, every movie from 1 to 6, maybe 7, 8, 9, just with the facial likeness of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor, and just let me play it with Jedi, Fallen Order, Survivor, whatever type gameplay. That'd be epic. That would be so epic.
When they're done well. The problem with I think movie tie-in games get a bad reputation because there was a period in time where they just felt like cheap cash-ins.
Yeah.
And that's all they were. And the gameplay sometimes didn't make sense. It was just jointed, and it's like they were probably doing tie-in games for movies that didn't really work as a game.
Yeah.
But when movie tie-in games are done well, they can be amazing.
Yeah. Oh, could you just imagine?
Look at GoldenEye.
Yeah. Even then, that was like a product of its time, wasn't it? But so the Lord of the Rings games, EA's Lord of the Rings, 2 Towers and Return of the King. Just give me those action set pieces with a cutscene from the movie or a recreated scene from the movie, and let me just go have fun in those beautiful realised worlds. But Phantom Menace Episode 1 coming. Will we get 2 and 3? I don't know. I think Revenge of the Sith was a PS2 game, so we'll get into that. I think I borrowed it from Rob. I might still have it. I should probably give him that back. but we'll see. We'll see. No more other real news to talk about. There's some other stuff, but we'll save that for a later time because this has been a very, very long and juicy show, an episode for you all this week. Lego Fortnite is out. Go play that. Last of Us Notes detail, but we'll talk about that in the new year, probably when it comes around. That's been it for the Game Awards. Grand Theft Auto. Do let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on all the hype surrounding GTA 6. How many times have you watched the trailer? And will you be listening to Tom Petty all through the week? If not, maybe go listen to the Old Gods of Asgard because they are kick-ass guard. Richie?
Yeah.
We've got probably a live stream Let's Play at some point this week. We don't really know what it is yet. We haven't locked it in. We'll figure it out as we usually do.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Let us know what you want to play, yeah.
There's
a couple of ideas
we could look at.
got.
Lego Fortnite we could look at. We could start a Halo playthrough. Who knows?
Yeah,
but let us know.
We've got one over two things, and potentially we can't really necessarily announce just yet, but we could play.
We could indeed. Yeah. But all that being said, thank you very much for everyone who's watched this week's show for a bumper Game Awards special. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you keep in the loop. If you want to support the channel an extra little bit further, click join down below on the YouTube link to support us from as little as 99p. You get early access to this very show, stickers and badges next to your name in the live chat, and more importantly, it helps support the channel. It helps support our podcast distribution. So if you are one of them wonderful audio listeners out there, thank you for listening. But also, why not head over, click join the crew, join the guild, and support us. Do you want to add something on there? You look like you got some on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah, I'm thinking, should we do this day in game because there's some absolute bangers in it.
Yeah, almost forgot about that there. Good reminder. Yeah, we won't wrap up just
We'll do it quick, but there's some bangers I think deserve recognition.
This year in video games, on this day. What have we got, Richie? Call them out.
Doom. 30 years ago today, as of recording, the original Doom came out. See what I mean? There's some absolute bangers.
1993, Doom on PC. Damn. Any other ones?
25 years ago, Turok 2 Seeds of Evil.
Turok 2
and I credit Turok as one of the game franchises probably overlooked of how much has it influenced modern first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Because it used the analog stick to aim.
Yeah, I would take a Turok remake and a Dino Crisis remake to bring the dinos back. And I guess to round out, 3 years ago today, Cyberpunk 2077 on PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Google Stadia. And out of the four of them, it was the second best place to play if you had a good computer. But that's been it for this week's episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
You can find us at GamerGuildTV, at CyberChris2077, and at RichieC89. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. See you all next week. And remember, everyone, play wherever it makes you the happiest. Goodbye.
Bye.